How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I can finally do the last mission in the group of garage missions to get it fully unlocked and everything. Yeah, this one's called Constructing a Repair Garage. So yeah, for this one I need it's the 4 lots of fuel that is the main issue, because I need to go to the other map. What's it called? Yellow Brick Road. I just keep remembering it as. So I'm going to drive up there to the main entrance, taking the Zikz 605R. And just a 2-slot trailer. Again, the most direct route I can go. I'm going to cut a little bit of it out. It's just quicker than going across the middle of the map and following the highway up. I tend to find this way a much quicker, better way. I've used it, to be honest, for the majority of the videos that I've done for the last week or so, part of doing the missions. It's just from where you set off from this garage. It's just the best way to go, really. Well, if you're heading north on the map anyway. Yeah, in the end I decided to take that trailer, and the reason why, I get that this trailer is heavier than the just the normal 2-slot sideboard, but those posts sticking up on the side, if the trailer ever tips enough that the cargo unpacks, those posts stop it just sliding off the cargo completely. Obviously the other trailer is a sideboard, so it doesn't automatically fall off, but those posts have definitely saved more cargo, I reckon, than the other one for me. And yeah, this first bit driving here, I tend to find once you go down that little, there's like a gap where it sort of narrows and makes you go through a snowy bank, but then if you cut off to the right, I'm trying to avoid as much snow as I can. If you drive next to that telegraph pole, you have to cut over that tiny little patch. But generally speaking, I can stay in high range. I've tried it with just about every different truck. A couple of the weaker trucks don't really like staying in high range that much, particularly at the minute while we seem to have this torque nerf going on. But yeah, this thing, it was handling it pretty well. I'm going to cut forward now, yeah, just to the entrance to the Yellow Brick Summit, other map. I'll see the name in a sec. Yellow Rock National Forest. I don't know why, I just keep calling it Yellow Brick, and then that's all I remember it as. Yeah, so this is the entrance, where the main gateway is, the only gateway that's unlocked when you go to this map. And basically, I've got to head to the warehouse. It's right next to the second watchtower that I did, so near as makes no difference heading that way. Just got to go slightly past it and grab the stuff from the warehouse. Yeah, I'm going to cut through these trees again, because it's actually a pretty convenient way. You can go the long way round that way, but there's a little road, a rock slide that's blocking the road. Follow this road all the way along. It's pretty easy and simple. Cross the river, and I actually went up that stupidly steep hill to get to the watchtower, but if you go kind of a little wider, you can go round the back. They don't really show up as proper roads, but they are there. The only other way to do it would be to build the bridge first, and you could take the cargo the long way. But to be honest, as you'll see from this video, I think this way, regardless, would be the easier way to go, because if you went the long way where that bridge has been built and all the rest of it, there's 3 or 4 big stretches of ice patches and all sorts you've got to get through, which there is some vehicles that'll chew through it no problem. But going the way I go now, I'm pretty certain I don't encounter any ice sheets or anything like that. There's a little rock slide thing to climb over, but it's not really that bad. You can see here, getting through the trees, even the Zikz certainly isn't the smallest of vehicles. I have to say, I've said it before, but I like the turning circle of the Zikz, considering the size of it and that, just because it's got double front steerable axles. It yeah, swings its nose around quite nicely, so cutting through those trees was no issue. The trailer followed nicely as well. The gap was all wide enough to get the trailer through, because those posts that stick up on the trailer, they can catch on trees. That's one thing I'm not too keen on. I suppose in a perfect world, if they had then a bar going along the top of each side of those rails that are sticking up on the trailer, so that trees couldn't individually hook on each post, that'd probably be pretty handy. So yeah, this is the roadblock you got to get over. From what I've tested going over here a couple of times, drive over and bump or going this way, your left wheel up there, but then as soon as you do, turn hard left, because if you start getting your right front wheel caught on that rock on the right, it just won't bump over it again. The hitboxes don't seem to quite line up perfectly. Yeah, if you steer hard left, I did it yesterday when I explored this map as well. I had to go across there a couple of times, and that's what I kind of found both times, same thing. And then now, I mean, it's plain sailing along a road. It's certainly a lot more simple than all the ice sheets and patches, which, to be fair, are pretty good. I'm sure at some point they've not bothered me or anything like that. I'm just sort of objectively speaking. I brought the Zikz for today, or for this part anyway. I'm going to use 3 different trucks for this mission. I'm going to use the Voron AE, is it the AE? Yeah, to go and get the vehicle spare parts. And then the Dan as well, because they added, I got the active suspension when I did the exploration video. I just noticed you can get cabins from that warehouse. I was just, I don't know, dicking around really as I was flying through the little thing where you can get it. I just clicked the button and it brought cabins up, so looked like ready-built cabins as well that I don't need to go and source the parts for. I didn't check to see if they're limited or what's going on, but I will investigate pretty soon. It's funny though, when I went through there and that cabin just appeared, it locked my steering on like hard right. That's why I suddenly veered off. This is probably the most difficult section to drive through on the way I'm going now, and I'd say yeah, it's pretty damn easy. Again, especially the Zikz 605. I wanted a quick vehicle because I knew I'd be travelling across lowlands and this map, but I was going to have 4 cargo. I wanted this trailer preferably. This trailer is heavier than the normal sideboard trailer, so you need a bit of a heftier vehicle to carry it. And yeah, just overall, I kind of want to keep mixing and matching it as much as possible, but for this one, the Zikz just made the most sense really. I would have happily took the Dolphin, but fuel-wise, I can pretty much guarantee... I don't know actually, there's a chance. I'd have to try it to be honest. The Dolphin could possibly make it to this warehouse on 200 fuel. If it could, if I took a loaf with me, I can refuel myself and all the rest of it. Maybe at a push. I'd have to see how much fuel this thing uses as well. But yeah, stuff like that. I mean, there was the Voron grad, other bits and bobs, but because I'll be hauling cargo as well, for lots of cargo, I didn't want a truck that's a little bit, once it's been loaded up and all the rest of it. And funnily enough, when I got to the entrance to the yellow brick map, this one, I quickly went back to my garage and checked to see if I could put a sideboard on the Derry, the bloody Derry 4520, because if I could, I probably would have done this mission, or this part of it, with the Derry, because I've got the new engine now, and this would have been kind of like the perfect chance to test it really. But yeah, there's no option, because it's got all that stupid like winch and coil setup thing on the back of the Derry 4520, it just eats up too much space on the back of the truck. So yeah, there's no room left for a sideboard. And then I could have done a sideboard and a 2-slot trailer. The only other way to do it would have been to bring the Derry and the 4-slot ramped flatbed, which drives me mad. Or I could have done the saddle low, something like, you know, like the sideboard semi-trailer, but I wanted to use the sideboard and just do a 2-slot trailer, keep it kind of more compact while I'm driving across both maps really. But as you can see, so far I've not really had any major hurdles. Cutting through the trees was pretty easy. There's certainly there's enough room to do it. The little roadblock thing, it's a matter of seconds and I was over that. And apart from that, it's kind of been following at least some kind of road. We've got a few little boggy sections, so you can see the watchtowers straight up ahead. And that's normally, I drove like through that little muddy patch to the left, past that log house thing. But yeah, if you follow, the good thing is when I got here, I was like, well, it's good news because you can actually see like the tyre tracks leading off to the left, so it was a good sign that I was going to be able to squeeze my way around here. In theory, I could try and go up that hill again, but when I did it, I think it was yesterday, the exploration video, or the day before, when that hill was so steep, it auto-unpacked my load for one, and secondly, I don't know, it could be doable with the winch points and all the rest of it. It's just not really worth it. This is all tracked out and all the rest of it. It's probably, yeah, in the long run, probably save more fuel just going the long way round, but keeping the pace to it. Which again, I'm still in high range at the minute, which is good enough for me. This kind of pace on this sort of terrain and what I'm doing is, yeah, it's quick enough. It's funny, I was just like watching the loaf bob around on the roof. Someone said in one of my videos the other day that taking a loaf with me was ridiculous, and it was funny, it was in one of the videos where he was in the sideboard. I thought, bloody hell, you must be new here, because that's, yeah, he hasn't noticed the few thousand odd I've had on me sat on the roof of my truck for the last year or so. See, and he's still he said it in the same video where I literally used the fuel from the loaf to make it back to the garage. He's just a goddamn professional. That man needs to get himself a loaf. That's his problem. It's not mine, I've got plenty. And again, as you look around, there's loads of little roads going off all over the place up here, so I assume I don't know, there's going to be various different things going on in this section. Because it all seems pretty well, not mapped out, but yeah, like there's a lot to do here. Now this now is just pure shortcut. I could have gone a little bit further down on the road, I believe, but impatience is a virtue. That really wasn't a good time to be doing stalling in the high range. I was going to see if I could just smash my face into the mound. That's what I said. And yeah, just like nut the snow out the way, but it was having none of it. It was jiggling my steering. It looked like once or twice it would bump its way up and over, but nope. Just face planted it. Go on a bit of an angle though. Gave it less choice. It was like a tiny little glitch there. It was like 1/10 of a second, if that. Yeah, again, thankfully, the Zikz, one nice thing, it's got the big chunky tyres, even though it hasn't got the chain tyres, which do help normally bite over kind of the roadside barriers. But yeah, the Zikz just got big enough tyres that it's meaty enough. It did it. There's another loaf, goddamn professional, was already waiting there, like Jeeves' loaf. Probably got me a cup of tea ready. Ran me a nice hot bath. What a goddamn horse. And finally, the thing that seems pretty bloody hard to come by on this map, some fuel. Gotta get that daylight shot. So, pretty much for heading back, I mean, just double back on myself. The only thing I'm going to try and do is be a lazy bastard and cut across like where the watchtower was, just to save myself 20 pointless seconds that I probably then lose again by almost risking it all. So, really, I could turn left when I just left that garage, and I mean, worst case, I could jump back over the barrier I climbed over and kind of go back that way. But if you cut up here, I was having a quick eyeball of it. I could also swerve off to the right now and go down that incredibly steep hill, but I was aware as well, if I crash, I can do the quit and reload thing, but if I get unlucky and crash just as the saving cogs come up, I'd then have to drive a crane all the way from Lowlands to here just to reload the fuel. In fact, I kind of take that back, because I believe the fuel is unlimited actually at that warehouse, at which point I probably would just drive back to the warehouse and get more fuel. Yeah, this ledge here, they've you can tell they've sort of made it purposely a bit awkward. If I go straight ahead, it's a bit of a ledge and there's not really a lot I can do about it. Loaf, goddamn professional, is hanging on there, but there's a degree or two off auto unpacking. And you see, it unpacked my trailer. And if that was a sideboard, even though the trailer didn't exactly go upside down, that's still guarantee it would have found a way to flip them out. Because the other thing is, this trailer sits a lot more planted because it's got 4 axles, not 2, and I believe they've got more weight to it, and the dolly axle thing doesn't jackknife under the trailer as much. The other trailer is a lot floppier and a lot easier to get to the point where it tips and just flings the cargo out, so I'd be willing to bet at that point I would have lost 2 of my fuel, and then, like I say, at that point I'd either have to go around the long way again just to go and get 2 more fuel, or bring a crane all the way here. I don't think you can put a crane, can you, on the Zikz while you got the sideboard? I don't think you can. Otherwise, I'd generally probably drive around with a crane if that was an option. But yeah, anyway, go the long way around. We're back out of there. And like I said, that's the whole drive now. I'm pretty much doubling back on myself, so I think that's a pretty decent drive there and back. Again, I think other trucks would certainly be capable of it. Just overall, the Zikz, it's got enough fuel, it's got the roof rack, I can fit a loaf on the roof, so that's now increased my repair points by 300, it's increased my fuel by 200, and yeah, it's just planted enough, it doesn't really affect or tip the Zikz any more than it's going to anyway, so yeah, I can't lie, it's a pretty decent truck to go around. I still do prefer the Dolphin for fun-wise and all the rest of it, and the fact that it's got like the high-range gear. Well, the high-range gearbox, so you can drop the hammer a bit in it. But yeah, there's undoubtedly this thing is a pretty decent truck. Whichever way you're going to send it and all the rest of it, it's going to be pretty rough, bumpy, floppy off-roading. This thing's pretty well planted. And to be fair, even when you drop it drop the hammer in a straight line and get up to 5th gear out 5. It's got slightly bigger wheels than stuff like the Dolphin and the Tiger and all the rest of it, so again, for one revolution of the tyre, you seem to cover a bit more distance. It sits at a quicker pace than vehicles, I would say, with smaller tyres that have the same gearbox and engines set up. Just had to drop myself out high for that one though, going up there. Just about made it through the water again, but not quite enough oomph to climb back up out the other side, which, like I said, post Phase 6 update, I reckon the talk was there. Apparently, I've seen some people saying in the comments that there's quite a few people talking about the lack of power just on YouTube in general. I assume on the forums, on like the SnowRunner stuff as well. So hopefully they do actually patch it, because it just, from what I can tell from the general amount of sort of feedback and talk in the comments about certain things that have happened over the last year or two, where yeah, I kind of mentioned just about everything I can notice, just for the hell of it. Just as someone, funnily enough, said to me the other day, oh, I'm glad you mentioned so-and-so, because now I know I'm not going insane and it's not just me. So I mention a bit of everything, but I can be quite, yeah, nitpicky in some ways with some things. It's not like I'm criticise it and moaning, I'm just sort of saying, oh, this, I've noticed this and I'd rather it was this or whatever. But yeah, when you get a certain amount of people in the comments that are also saying the same things, it kind of, there's just a certain level of background noise to where the general theme is people are not happy about it. So I'm hoping that message makes its way to the SnowRunner devs. I'm sure it will, because yeah, it just seems like on the level, I don't know, when they nerfed the Khan Marshall, for example, there's quite a lot of people kind of complaining about that at the time, and they did that. There's a few things they've kind of caved on. The GMC 9500, they added all-wheel drive to that. They added all-wheel drive to the twin steer, which I believe was at least partially due to like popular demand, or enough people saying, oh, if only that twin steer had all-wheel drive. Again, I'm not sure if we ever get a chance to clear this roadblock. It's not the end of the world, it's just with cargo that it could theoretically get a bit trickier. It seemed to be easier going this way though. The other nice thing is on this side, like if you're going this way, yeah, there's that little telegraph pole there. I don't necessarily think I needed it as such, but I wasn't sure if my front wheel was going to hook over that crash barrier, and if it did, it'd, I don't know, kind of lock me in place and sort of force my wheel to scoot that way. And we don't want that. I have to send in the goddamn loaf to save me. He's definitely good for it, but again, I get strangely attached to just, he's sat on my roof, he's good there. I don't want to get him off that roof if I don't have to. To be fair, whether it's luck or decent vehicles I've been using, but I've not really had to, well, not mission wise anyway. I've been doing just ridiculous amounts of dicking around with loaf and other vehicles, kind of behind the scenes, off camera so to speak, but as far as actual core missions go, not really had any crazy loaf rescues going on so far. And that was it, cut back through those trees and we're back at the entrance to the lowlands, which, like I said, I think objectively, even if I had that bridge built and I could just drive the main path all the way around, like the long way around the map, and get to that warehouse without doing any crazy off-roading, yeah, I still think that way I just went would be better and sort of more efficient. So, back to the garage. And there is actually a warehouse kind of over to my right at the minute. It's a little bit further over to the right, but yeah, I need to get 4 lots of bricks from there, and again, in theory, I could have done it in one round trip with the 8-slot trailer, but I really just think that would have been far more hassle than it was worth, especially when I was doing stuff like cutting through those trees, and yeah, I really don't think it would have gone too well with the 8-slot. There's just too much stuff it can get hooked on. And I've seen someone in the comments, and they're right as well, it's like with the 8-slot trailer, you've got to, there's a little bit more planning involved with, you can't just go anywhere you like. You got like little snaky, weavy, windy paths through the trees and that. The 8-slot's just, you're gonna bite yourself, even attempting it. At least this way, you're sort of going with the current. And again, I really like this section. It's one of my favourite bits of this map. There's no, I can't necessarily define it as in any particular reason why. I don't know. It's a cool view, cool scenery. I like kind of driving around the water. It reminds me a little bit of the flooded map, or deluge, whatever it was called on MudRunner. Well, I think it was it called the flooded map on Spin Tires, and then deluge on MudRunner, I think. But either way, that was a good map, a memorable one back for anyone who played MudRunner. Yeah, got my my 1 star on that map. It was not an easy one to do, but we cheesed it. I blagged it. I kind of drowned and floated a Hummer across the river to the other side, winched myself all the way to the E series truck that was in like a yard on the other side of the map. Repaired myself. And then I think I drove the E-series truck back to the other side of the map to grab these little caravan wagon things, and drag that to the other side of the map. Yeah, got it all done. It was a beast. Probably wouldn't fancy getting the 1 star again, but the map itself was pretty cool. And trying to find different routes across like the flooded part of the map was pretty interesting. I had a good old fat current going on that one, but it made more sense on Deluge, because at least like when you were really into it, the waves and the river and everything were kind of up to your windscreen, if not halfway up your windscreen and stuff. Whereas on this map, when you get the current fighting you when you're only in like 6 inches to a foot of water, it feels a little bit excessive. See, little bits like that where it flopped over to the right there. The loaf's wobbling around on top like a little nodding dog, but it doesn't really influence what's happening with the Zikz. And worst case, you've seen it before, and I genuinely do stand by this. I've noticed it so many times. It's been on video loads and all the rest of it. But if I tipped enough, the loaf would unpack before I tip, and then just the way it springs the weight back, it kind of helps me go back to my wheels. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. The loaf's goddamn professional. Get yourself a loaf. So again, just cut around the snow. For whatever reason, this snow here particularly, I've been through other patches that don't really seem that bad, but this stuff is that bit just to my right now is what I believe stopped the P16 just dead in its tracks. Even when I disconnected the trailer, I couldn't even drive out there. This bit of snow here is cool. It's not really ever been an issue here. Even I managed to stay in high gear. And yeah, I mean, this is the main bulk of this mission, really. Once you get this one in the bag, by comparison, the other ones are pretty easy. Good old dolphin still chilling there. It's funny though, I keep treating the garage now when I use it as well, like I just forget that it can't fix stuff, or that you, like, I don't know, sort of, I suppose you end up taking all the stuff you can do in the garage for granted, and now when you can't, it's like, oh bloody hell, it's pretty handy actually when you unlock that certain thing back. Yeah, a warehouse I've been to before. It's just kind of like, as I fly out of this garage, head a little bit south on the map, and 2 vehicle spare parts is all I need, so I don't even need a trailer for this. That's why I decided to take the Voron AE. You could see there though, when I went around the corner, how slow and delayed the steering is. The barrier wasn't too happy there. It's like, and stay out. Yeah, that was didn't go too well, but the steering, I've never liked it on this Voron AE. I still remember it when somebody who was watching my videos claimed that I'll never watch another one because of how I was steering. It was when we unlocked the Rift map, and at the same time we unlocked the Rift map, they changed the way the steering works, and I was currently driving the Taiga, but then I also did a review on the Voron AE, and between them changing the steering on the Taiga and then also trying to do a review in between that night of driving on this thing that was driving like the opposite of the Taiga, it was like, I don't blame them for refusing to watch anymore. I was hitting everything, to the point where I don't even think I could hit that much stuff if I tried, as fluently and consistently as I was. But yeah, it was an absolute head wrecker that night. It was driving me mad. Just nothing was steering where, like, how I wanted it to, or I didn't know what was going on. This Taiga, it's the Voron AE, it's just got really shallow steering. It's quite delayed as well for the size of the truck. I could have understand it a bit more on like the bigger trucks, but it doesn't kick in very quickly at all. And then once it does, you can kind of see there the back end starts to step out, which is cool because in a way it kind of handles like the Voron Grad. It is kind of like the Voron Grad, just with diffs always on, which is theoretically even better, but it's just the Voron Grad has normal steering, this thing doesn't, and it just, yeah, it drives me insane. Because as you start to steer, it's like too slow, so then you have to steer harder to make up for the fact that it didn't steer quick enough, and then you start snaking down the road a little bit. And yeah, when the back end steps out, it's not quick enough to catch it and all the rest of it, whereas the Voron Grad is just, I personally much rather the Voron Grad over this, even though if you take the steering out of it, I'd argue this is objectively a slight bit better than the Voron Grad because it's got the diffs always on, so you don't have to go into the low ranges. So you can see there, it steered slow. Unfortunately, it was a bit unlucky there. I tipped enough the cargo come out. I flung a panic winch out, but the cargo still went. So I went back to the warehouse. Thankfully, it's unlimited cargo for the vehicle spare parts, so yeah, clearly my own impatience was kind of costing me more time than it was worth, so third time lucky coming back, actually let off the throttle a little bit now. But yeah, I'd like to mess around with this truck, because the fact that the back end does come out, I do quite like that. I like that handling on vehicles in this game. Particularly, what vehicle was that I drove the other day that was really nice? Oh yeah, it was Fox's mod, the Derry 4520, that was bloody nice, that was, for... It's like the perfect amount of drifting. The back end comes out, but the steering, you could just catch it so easily. It was like really nice. Might even have to do some kind of rally video just without the Derry, just for the hell of it. See, everything else about this truck though, the high range has got a nice pace. It's good actually. Now's a perfect example actually. I'm feathering the throttle quite a lot. That's how slow I go. I'm still in high gear, still squeezing the throttle again because I forgot that tree was there on my left. I had to kind of let off the throttle while I steer and wait for the steering to actually kick in. But it didn't make me drop out of high range once there, which I'm pretty happy with. That is nice. Because if you go to the opposite end of the spectrum and drop it down into first, it's just so gutless, particularly at the minute. And how often it wants, even if you're in like third gear and all the rest of it, it'll automatically jump to first. There's just no guts to it. So if you get a truck where you can actually feather the throttle and play with it in high range gear, it's really, it feels more realistic. It feels more like you actually, yeah, you have more say in what's going on. It's not just the game saying, oh, automatically jump back to first, wait 5 seconds to apply some power. So yeah, the last warehouse is kind of, like I said, heading-ish towards the northern entrance where I went to go and get the fuel from on the other map. Hence why I just cut it out with the Zikz, because, well yeah, this is the Dan. This is the same Dan as always, but they've now added active suspension, which is pretty cool, because you can see from like the 2 rear axles sit quite far near the back of the truck. There's just 2/3 of the truck are all supported by the 1 front axle. It's only just now I realised, go down to change suspension mode. Gets a direction at the front, just keeps that chin up off the floor more, which is pretty important, because even now when you're like smashing down on the front, the suspension travel, there's still quite a lot there, and you can theoretically still bump your chin on the floor, but it's so, the tension built up on the spring by then, like the suspension to fire you back up in the air, it's not smashing down into the ground, it's just barely touching it, if that, and then it's already trying to like rise back up on its suspension, and it's just, yeah, it's that little bit where it's like crossed that threshold and it's now officially, the chin isn't really much of an issue, unless you get, obviously you can get some, like if you go down a dip that's really sharp going back up the other way, then that's fair enough. You're gonna get that with about any vehicle. It was reminding me driving now, it was like them Russian hard base meme videos you see, like where there's that tank that jumps and fires a shot in midair and stuff. Or I think there's like one with a jeep full of 4 Russian alcoholics that start going off-road and they're all flying around in the back of the cab. It's pretty funny. I think one of them as well nearly falls out the door comes open and he's like hanging on for dear life. They're all just laughing their head off. That's why we don't live as long as women, but we have a good time before we die. I know that much. It was quite nice actually in the little interior view, and as well the whole time there, keeping it pinned in high range. I was actually pretty happy with this vehicle. I always used to like the Dan. It's funny, I remember it was one of the first vehicles I reviewed, and when I did the review, there was something about it I disliked. I think it was more just, the chin, the amount of weight sitting on the one axle and all the rest of it, but I'm sure I remember saying in the review, well, I don't know, I'm a bit harsh on the vehicle. There is something about it I like, and especially now, it's when they did the collab in phase 3. No, it might have even been phase 2, Flooded Foothills and that, where they gave us the active suspension for the collab, and it crossed that threshold where now normal sized rocks and bumps and dips and things you can get caught on just weren't an issue for the collab anymore, and that's kind of what it's made this thing now. It's officially not a problem. Here, by the way, I won't really hold it against the Dan. It's not got enough oomph to power its way against this current. But I did drive something through here, a couple of things actually, the other day. I think the Twin Steer was one of them. The Dolphin I might have drove through there as well. And neither of them were keen at all on it. But they both have an extra axle. This one's got the 6 axles, which is, again, in theory, it's another hindrance. Like, if it had double axles at the front, that'd just be a whole nother set of tyres that can grip. But go round this way, cutting sideways through that current. I believe that's sort of more the way you're meant to go as well, because it certainly sits a lot more shallow than the way I was trying to go. But yeah, no issues going up there. And I was kind of thinking to myself, if it can get up this hill in the high gear, I'll consider that a bit of a win. The nice thing is, you can sort of hear, it's got like a whistling turbo sound, and the higher you build up in high gear, the higher you can like hear that whistling whooshing sound. And before it starts to stall on you, like you could tell there, you can hear the whistling sound die down, so you kind of get like probably half a second to a second, if that, of pre-warning when the high range is going to die. So I didn't have to wait for the stalling picture to come up on screen. I just kind of heard the whistling die down and quickly jumped it down into auto or high-low or whatever. There's a goddamn horse waiting, you see. Another cup of tea served. He knows what he's doing. It was going so well turning there, in the last second it just lunged forward. Clipped its nose on that. So bricks for this one. I think there's 2 bricks in some other warehouse on this map. It's kind of pretty pointless because you're going to have to come here anyway. As far as I'm aware, I don't believe there's any brick framed buildings or whatever like we've had on other maps. Certainly not as far as I've noticed. We've got like the log frame buildings on this, or on the Yellow Brick Road map. Oh no, there probably is some on this map, I don't know actually. I'll be honest, I've not been paying as much attention as I probably could and should. Is it just me? Was there not... I'm pretty sure there wasn't a gigantic tree carcass laying there when I just went up that way, like 30 seconds ago. God knows. Certainly not like me to be sticking wood in the gap. Is of course what she said. For this one, funnily enough, I tried it. You can see in the river actually. See where it's like a lighter brown colour, where it's, I think the game's trying to imply that it's shallower. And I motored across there way better, so yeah. I mean, and then it connects to that next little like pathway of tracks you can see going through the mud, so that probably is the right way to go. I think cutting through that deep section I tried doing is sort of setting yourself up. And if you hear there, what I was liking about this Dan driving it is, again, you can hear the whistling from the turbo when you're like nicely wound up in high gear. But as it dies down as well, it doesn't just automatically mean like, oh, it's dying down. There's lots of trucks in this game that once you're off the peak, like the ideal amount of revs or whatever in high range, it just completely throws in the towel, gives up, and you're guaranteed to find the stalling picture come up. In fact, the Derry 4520, as was before this phase and the new engine, was a perfect example of that. This, you sort of hear the whistling die down, but it's not... Yeah, it's still... There's a chance. Again, I mean, when I was driving up that steep hill a minute ago, I just knew that it's too much of a steep, awkward hill. I was bouncing around and all the rest of it. But if you're driving along, like when I was just climbing out of that water, you heard the whistling die down a bit, but it doesn't automatically just give up and start wheel spinning. And yeah, I quite like that about this. I mean, even right now, I'm high range all the way, which it's a nice blend of, like, there's enough pace that I'm still enjoying myself, feel like I'm eating my way through the terrain, I'm getting to where I'm going. There's still enough kind of, like, I don't know, I'm steering, I'm still trying to find the right path, wiggle my way around the bits of snow and the awkward bumps and the patches of, like, watery mud and all the rest of it. It's just, yeah, overall it balances out to, like, quite a nice combo. And this truck feels pretty decent and, like, worthy of being able to take out for a mission, bring some cargo back. Yeah, it's not throwing its toys out the pram every 2 minutes. There's a good example where it clipped its chin, but it's... by that point, it's either, like, you're going over an awkward bump. It's just, yeah, there's too much suspension travel now between its chin and the floor. So by the time the two meet, the truck doesn't want to be in that position at all. It hasn't got time to hook in and stop your entire truck dead. It just kind of skims off now, which is, yeah, way better. I'll happily use this truck more now. I'd say just this fix alone with the suspension has probably bumped it a good way. I don't know if it'd be in the top 10 vehicles for me, but that's only because there's 10 other vehicles I like more. But I'd certainly say it's now officially in the sort of enjoyable, capable, yeah, decent vehicles worth taking out. So to give the Voron a little ram there. Now I'm going to get me a refuel and repair option back. And there's no proper animate. The only thing that I think that had a proper animation was the garage, and that was the one that bloody glitched for me as well. Money wise, 13 odd grand, or call it maybe 14 odd if you round it all up. A little bit tight on the money. I reckon it should have been nearer 20 grand, because for most of the missions we've done, if I'm not mistaken, it's been given us around 10, 11 grand anyway. And for this one I had to go, like, yeah, all the way to the yellow brick road map. Which, again, it doesn't really matter. I've cheated the money with a mod and I've got like 120 million or whatever I've got. But just, there is other people. Some people won't want to use mods, and they are, yeah, trying to do it the way nature intended and grind the money. I was at first. Again, for people who think I'm a filthy little cheat that got some money, I did after about 300 goes and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of grinding contests. And then it started stealing trailers off me. It stole about 17 trailers off me from the quarry. It stole some trucks off me, one of which was my Voron Grad, which I'd just bought like 12 hours earlier for 130 grand. And yeah, as soon as that mod came along, this game owed me money, and I made it pay me back. Well, I forgot because I was just yapping on, but I was just doing a quick lap of my garage. These are all the different various buildings now that are all built. I just did my repair and refuel garage, had the truck store, had the customization shop, and then this bit to my left is the trailer store. Done. And now I can get on my next main mission. I would like to do a review video pretty soon. Might do the Japanese toaster forester thing. Yeah, I need to get that Tiger unlocked because I really want to have a go in that. And yeah, this is now, I just smashed the Voron AE on purpose to recover it back to the garage, and I believe now I've got all the missions done. There's loads more clutter and stuff in the garage, like all those yellow sort of coil things on the roof. There's more stuff all around the ramps. There's a neon sign there lit up saying office. Yeah, toolboxes, drum barrels, oxyacetylene tanks, whatever, all sorts going on. But yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Thanks for our Patreon members. Get yourself a loaf because he's goddamn professional as usual, and I'll be back soon.